I don't know how to phrase this without sounding like a bitter old man, even though I am a bitter old man. But why why is it that people enjoy having things spoiled for themselves? I feel like this has been a thing. Welcome to the Consolo Podcast. My name is Sam, and with me, as always, my co-host Stu. I don't understand. I feel like recently there's been this spoil the movie, spoil the book, spoil the TV show thing that people seem to enjoy. The reason I bring this up is because today is Thursday and the Super Bowl is this Sunday. That's 3 days away. And I've already seen pretty much all of the commercials that are going to be airing on Sunday. A huge chunk of the fun with the Super Bowl are the commercials and the halftime show. That's what so many people talk about. Yeah, there's going to be crazy plays and everything, but so many people are going to be talking about the commercials and the halftime show. And for whatever reason, I think it's CBS, they just posted, you can go onto their site right now and you could just watch all of them. There's like 20 commercials. You could just scroll down and watch them all. And it even says on the site, watch all the Super Bowl commercials. Those aren't Super Bowl commercials. Those are regular commercials because the Super Bowl hasn't happened yet. I don't know. I just don't understand why they're showing them now. And I guess because they cost so much money and they want people to see them as much as possible or something. But I feel like it sucks the fun out of waiting for the Super Bowl to watch the commercials. Like if I was at a Super Bowl party, I don't think I've been to one since like 2014. But if I was at a party and I already saw all the commercials, I'm not going to be excited to watch them now. They've been showing I think it's for potato chips. It's a Breaking Bad one. It's got Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul. And they keep showing it on various social media platforms. And I've seen it like 5 times now. And it's funny. It's clever. But I'm not going to be excited to see it on Sunday. I probably won't even watch it because I've already seen it enough times. And obviously, it's not going to affect anything because it's not like if you have the Super Bowl on, you're going to turn it off when the commercials come on. But I don't know, maybe some people might change the channel for whatever reason. But regardless, I don't understand the need to air the commercials early. Why do we need to have the spoil? Why do we need to ruin the surprise of seeing, who's going to be in this Michelob Ultra commercial? Like, it's fun being surprised. It feels like in the last decade or so, we've become obsessed with trying to figure out like movie trailers and figure out who's going to be the surprise person, the cameo. And I'm not attacking Marvel fans, okay? It'll sound like I am, but it's just because this is very applicable to them. Marvel fans love when a trailer comes out, they love to pick apart everything and try to figure out what the surprise is going to be. And I get that it can be fun to a certain point, but when you ruin huge moments and give away these big surprises, where's the fun in that? First of all, studios aren't going to be that careless and drop a hint that like Captain America dies in the movie. So that's not going to happen. But when you go in and you're zooming in on everything and you're trying to find little flaws or clues about what's going to happen, like I said, I feel like it just sucks the fun out of going to the movie and finding out on the big screen. Perfect example is the last Spider-Man movie, No Way Home. Far From Home. No Way Home. I never saw any of the Tom Holland movies, I'm sorry. But the last one with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, it was ruined before the movie came out. I remember there was all this speculation as to whether Toby and Andrew were going to be in the movie, and it was highly likely they were, but nothing was confirmed. And then I remember there was a trailer that came out where It was a construction site, and Tom Holland, I think he was swinging into, it was the Sandman, Jamie Foxx's character, the blue guy, and the Lizard Man. He was fighting all three of them, and it was this great shot. He was swinging into, I think it was the Sandman or something. He was about to like kick him in the face, and it was a short clip. It was like 2 seconds. It was kind of slowed down, and it was like, wow, this is gonna be cool. But then on Twitter, it's always Twitter. On Twitter, there was somebody that zoomed in on the Lizard Man's face, and his body at the last second, his body turned a little bit, like he also got kicked in the face, and people were zooming in on it and like doing all these things. Anyway, it turned out that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were going to be in this scene, and they were cut out so that it didn't give it away in the trailer. But if you're a person that's just watching the trailer and trying to enjoy it for what it is, you probably weren't going to notice that. But like I said, people get so obsessed with trying to spoil things and figure out everything that somebody figured out that, yeah, it's definitely someone else is kicking him in the face. Yeah, it's definitely. And like, why would you want to know that? Wait. I feel like if The Sixth Sense came out today, they'd figure it out. And spoiler alert, by the way, if you've never seen the movie, Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. Somebody would figure it out. They'd be like, oh, watch the trailer when he breathes, like there's no air, like just something would give it away. And it's like, why would you want to go into the movie knowing that? Why would you want that? That was the whole thing with the movie. If you watch that movie going into already knowing he's dead, it doesn't do anything. You're just like, oh, okay, he got shot in the beginning, he's dead. All right. He's a ghost now, and he's talking to a kid, and he's trying to help him solve his problems. I don't know. When I saw the commercials, I thought of just how everyone loves to have books and TV shows and movies spoiled. I don't get it, because that's where the fun is watching a story unfold and finding out what's going to happen yourself. Why would you want somebody else to just tell you? Like, why is that fun? And I understand people don't care for surprises, like birthday surprises. Like if somebody threw me a surprise birthday party, I'd be very upset. I wouldn't like that. Or if you have a spouse who buys you a new car for Christmas, and you want to talk about that because that's a financial decision. Obviously, those are very different from, if you're watching Frozen and somebody's like, hey, by the way, the guy that you think is the prince or he's the good guy, he's actually not. Like, one of my favorite marketing campaigns for a movie, I was just talking about this with my buddy Jake last month, was Cloverfield. The marketing with that movie was so much fun because they didn't really say what it was at all. We just kind of assumed it was going to be a monster. We didn't know if it was going to be a couple of monsters, a bunch of little baby monsters, which it kind of was. But we didn't know what it was, if it was an alien, if it was going to look like Godzilla. Just no idea. I can't even remember if they had trailers coming out. I feel like they just set up, there were websites and all these different like little clues and puzzles you would solve, and it was just so elaborate and so much fun, but it didn't lead to any spoilers. Nobody ever found out, like it didn't lead you to like, this is the Cloverfield monster. It was just more and more like little rabbit holes you could go down. It was almost word of mouth. Like you would tell your friends like, oh, did you go on there? Did you see they have a MySpace page? They had MySpace pages for all of the characters, and they were so elaborate. They had their names and like how old they were, what their job was, what they like to do, their hobbies, their top 8 friends, and then it was obviously the other characters. One of the things I still remember, 15 years later, is one of the characters who gets eaten. He gets chomped in half. his height in his profile was like 3'6" or something. And at the time, we didn't know he was going to be eaten, but his character was really funny. So when you saw his height, you just kind of assume like, oh, he's just goofing around. He's not 3 feet tall. But once you watch the movie and you see what happens, it's like, oh, okay, that was clever. Everything was it was so cool. Like, they had on the movie poster, they had the Statue of Liberty with her head missing. And then in the clouds, there were people that figured out if you took the poster and you like mirrored it, it kind of looked like in the clouds, it looked like what could have been the monster's face. And it wasn't at all. But trying to figure out like, oh, is this a hint? I don't know. It was just different then. It was so different back then. It seemed more fun, and we weren't trying to ruin anything. We were just given these little clues and we got to explore with that. But now it's like people want to find flaws in the trailer or figure out just huge spoilers, and I don't know why. The Dark Knight was also really fun. We didn't know exactly what the Joker was going to look like, and I think they did something where they revealed there was like a puzzle of Heath Ledger's face, and they like revealed a piece at a time, and it was like a shadowy figure, and finally, like as the movie, it was closer to the release date, it didn't spoil it as much because we got to see him in the trailer, obviously, but early on, it wasn't like somebody just was on set and took a picture of him and was like, yeah, this is him, deal with it. Like, it just feels like lately, especially like I said, not attacking, but Marvel people, they like to do this for some reason a little more than the rest of us folk, which is especially surprising because you would think those people of all people would want to be surprised. They would want to get the full experience of going to the movies, watching these movies they wait years for. I mean, they announced these Marvel movies like 2-3 years ahead of time, and then it's like you wait all that time and now oh, Ant-Man gets his arm cut off. I did so much research trying to find that out. Like, why did you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? Anyway, when I saw the Super Bowl commercials, I thought of that and how people love to have these surprises ruined. And it's like, you don't win a prize. When I have somebody ruin something, I don't think they're cool. I'm not like, whoa, you knew what that was before? Cool. I kind of think you're a dick. If you show me something, you're like, hey, Ant-Man dies. Like, why'd you tell me that? Moving on, I have here on my iPad, I wrote lump, Super Bowl, and quitting things. And we talked about the Super Bowl. So last week, or 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago was the 10th episode. Anyway, I took a week off. We took a week off. I felt like I didn't have... I just felt like I should be taking breaks because doing this once a week, the week comes by so fast. And even taking the week off, this week just boom, it's back. That's how time works. But I felt like I should be doing some kind of a schedule, which technically this is one. But I felt like maybe going 10 episodes and then a week rest would be a good idea. And so that's what I decided to do. And I had a couple of people that reached out and were like, whoa, what's going on? Where's the episode? And that was so awesome because it means people are listening. So if you were curious what happened, that's what happened. This is a problem that I've have for my entire life, is that once I get out of the groove of something that I'm doing, I'm done. And I don't know what that is happening in my brain, but as much as I enjoy doing this, I love doing this, when I took that week off, I was kind of like, I could stop doing this. That could have been it. I would miss it and I would regret it after a couple of weeks of not doing it and being like, oh man, you could have been doing this still. Like you could have been on episode 20 or whatever. And I'd have been disappointed that I stopped, but that's how I operate, and it's not good. So doing this, I'm not forcing myself to do it, but doing this, and I'm having fun. This is fun, right, Stu? We really need to fix that eye. That's not looking good. It's something that I feel like will help me. It'll carry on into other things in my life. Like at the beginning of the year, I wanted to start reading again. I mean, I read. I don't read books, and I haven't read a book in like 2 or 3 years, and even that was a struggle. It took me like a year to get through that book. It was called The Plowman. It's very good. But anyway, I started reading Dave Grohl's autobiography in January, and I was like, all right, I'm going to read like 30 minutes a day. And then once I miss a day, it's like, all right, I'm done. I missed the day. It's over. I think what happens is, this feels like a therapy session, by the way. I think what happens is that I become fixated on getting a routine. And once I get out of it, I'm like, oh, you failed. You're done. That was it. You can't get back on it now because you already missed it. You screwed up. So that's what happened earlier this week. Is by the time Thursday got around, earlier this week, I was like, you can't get back into the groove of this. You're gonna like sit down and you're gonna forget how to talk and you're not gonna be able to do it. And you shouldn't have taken that week off. And that, like I said, I do that with everything. Or I just plain talk myself out of it. I bought a brand new PC in November 2020 with the intent of playing video games. I wanted to play video games with people and connect with people. This was at the height of the pandemic. That was it. Just wanted to play video games and have fun. And like I said, connect with people all across the country, just having a good time. And I just kind of was like, well, once you start it, you got to keep playing. I know that sounds stupid, like you have to keep playing video games. But I feel like when I start something and I feel like I don't keep doing it, then I've wasted my money or I've wasted my time or both. But yeah, that whole thing, I felt like, all right, if I go on and if I say every Wednesday I'm going to play Pac-Man or whatever, and then I don't do it on a Wednesday, that one Wednesday, then the next week I'll be like, you missed it. And that's so incredibly unhealthy, because by missing it, all that is a rest. And that's what you need to do. That's what people need to do. But I take that idea of rest as quitting for some reason. Like if I take a day off and I take it easy and I rest or whatever, it's like I can't get back into it because you gave up. And that's not what it is at all. So anyway, doing this sitting down and doing this is good job, Sam. Good job, buddy. Hey, you're editing right now, aren't you? Yeah. Look at you. You're doing so good, man. Like, this is great. You're doing it. You got back on the horse. And that day you took off, that was a rest day. You didn't quit. You're not a quitter. I mean, you are a little bit, but you didn't quit this thing. You quit reading, which I don't know why you did. You can go read right now. You can read after this. Go read the Foo Fighter book. You love Dave Grohl. He'd be so happy if you read his autobiography. And also, you have the PC plugged in. Go play video games, dude. You love video games. Why did you stop? It's fun. It's good. It's therapeutic. You can make friends. You don't really have any friends. You can make friends on there. There's all these games you've never played. Last of Us. Everyone's talking about The Last of Us. You don't even know what that is. You've never played the little spacemen game, Among Us. The last game that you played was Halo in like 2012. That's the last video game, like the new video game you played. You missed out, man. Go play. Hey, Sam, Go play. This episode has turned into a pep talk for myself. I apologize. I don't have, like I said, that's all I have on my iPad. I just have those 3 things, and I really, I gotta admit, I didn't plan on doing this week. I planned on being like, all right, take another week off, try the 3rd week. This is not to say I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared. I'm usually not. I usually hit record and then look at my iPad for guidance, but I don't write enough things down, and I don't really stick to this enough like I should. Speaking of sticking, hey Stu, do you ever have a little idea and then you want to write it down and stick it somewhere, and then look at that idea and be like, oh, that's right. It like a little reminder. You know what I mean? Anyway, head over to stickynotes.net and use ConSoloPod promo code. You get 50% off all sticky notes. You got all sorts of colors. You got blue, you got orange, pink, green, all neon. You can get white ones if you want. You could get whatever color you want. They're all sticky. That's the whole point of them. They're all sticky. And if you need to stick it somewhere so that you can remember, hey, brush your teeth, or hey, pick up the kids from school, just write it down, stick it on the thing, on the wall, and then you got, I'm so rusty at this, dude. See what happens when you take a week off? You can't do the advertisements. Now we're going to get fired, Stu. We're going to get fired from stickynotes.net because we didn't deliver. Speaking of delivery, are you hungry? Do you want to have some food? Do you want some pizza, but you can't? All right, we're done. We're going to talk about the lump. I wanted to talk about, I have a lump under my armpit. Is it cancer? We don't know yet. No, but I got this lump under, I need to stop smiling. I got this lump under my armpit. I noticed it around mid-January, so like a month ago. It could have been there for longer, but I have it, it's like the size of maybe like a little kidney bean. And it's there. It's noticeable. I can feel it right now. But that's a small part of why I didn't record last week as well, because I had a doctor appointment 2 days ago, and it was like on my mind, and I was like, oh man, what if this is like the last time that anything is good with your health, and this is it. So that was on my mind a little bit. You know, I'm the hypochondriac a little bit, and it didn't help. So I went to the doctor, and I don't like doctors. I feel like doctors they're hit or miss, and they shouldn't be. I feel like that's a profession that should not be a hit or miss. This guy, he's a nice man, and my doctor, the doctor that I had, I saw my doctor from like birth until he died. He died in 2012, I believe. So I was 26 when he passed away. He passed away from old age. He was a Jamaican guy. Awesome doctor. His name was Dr. Nation, and he reminded me of, all right, so this sounds weird. He reminded me of Gus Fring a little bit. The way that he talked and the way that he like carried himself. Like if Gus Fring was a good guy, just take all the mannerisms, because he was like very neat and tidy, and he took care of himself and very professional. But take a good Gus Fring, and that was Dr. Nation. And I loved that guy so much. He was I loved going to him, and he checked my balls until I was 26. So anytime that I would go see him, he would always make me feel better about seeing him, because I felt kind of old, but he was a pediatrician, mind you. So he was a doctor for kids. So when I would go in there, and, you know, there were kids in the waiting room, and I would go in there at like, 24, 25, I'd be like, man. But he would tell me, he's like, my oldest patient is 42, because she likes coming to me still. She's comfortable. I'm a doctor. I know all the business. So you see me as long as you want, and I'll always be here. And he did that. He did that for my brothers and I. And anyway, I loved him. And he's not here anymore, so now I had to find another doctor. And when you find another doctor, it's just like, how do you pick them? It's like a mechanic. You just word of mouth, or you go on Yelp, or you just kind of go to the doctor, and you hope you got a good one. Anywho, the doctor that I've been seeing for a couple of years, he's a nice guy, and he felt the lump, and he said I think it was a sebaceous cyst. But what he said was, he's like, what I like to do is I like to put these into 3 different categories. You have cancer, probably not cancer, and not cancer. And then he kind of like, he folded his arms and he kind of made a face, and he's like, it's probably not cancer. And it's like, okay, so it's the not cancer. So if it's probably not, it could be. So naturally, I kind of expected all of this. I expected him to say, come back if the lump gets bigger or whatever. But the thing is, it's so broad. And I feel like when that happens, what do people say? Go get a second opinion. Go see another doctor. Go pay money. Go spend time seeing another doctor. Get a second opinion. Because that first doctor, he might not know what he's talking about. He might not be good enough. And with doctors, I feel like that's not the profession where that should be applicable. Because this is serious shit, is our bodies. We need to have, all the doctors need to be real good. Especially when you consider the amount of training and schooling they went through. You gotta be good. You should all be on the same page, man. And I fully understand that there are things that we just don't know. You can go to a doctor and they're like, I just don't know. And that's okay. We're people. But when you don't know, that's when you need to bust out the equipment. Put me in an MRI. Do all the stuff. Figure out if it's not cancer, because this could be cancer and it could be growing. And then in 3 months from now, I go back and he's like, oh yeah, it is cancer. Now what? Now I'm 3 months behind on what I could have been treating, and it could have been something that had gone away, but now, since then it has spread, and I feel like that's no bueno. It's just crazy, because people always say, oh, you need to be aggressive, you need to speak up, you need to be a self-advocate for your health. And I never understood that mindset, because making the appointment, paying the money, I feel like that's self-advocate enough. I don't know why a patient needs to do more than that. That's the doctor's job. That's the doctor's job to do all of that. And I don't know. I feel like I always hear like horror stories of people seeing 3 or 4 doctors until they get a proper diagnosis. And I see that on TikTok a lot, where people are like, I have this problem. I have cancer. I have whatever it is. And it took me 4 doctors to figure it out, because the first 3 didn't know, or they didn't do a test because they just didn't do it. And when you have something, especially something time sensitive like that, it shouldn't be up to the patient to demand. Like if I went back and I was like, no, I need to know right now if this is cancer. That shouldn't be my job. That should be the doctor's job. I shouldn't have to beg for treatment to figure out what this is, because if it is just a cyst, then great. But just feeling it and going, probably not cancer. I shouldn't have to have spoken up and said like, well, what now? Because I have to go. You have to go with what the professional is saying. I shouldn't have like been Googling like all the symptoms and everything before, which I did, but I shouldn't have to be like, well, could it be a blah, blah, blah? Because that should be his job. He's the one that went to school for it. I shouldn't go on Google in my car before getting there and be like, oh, it could be this kind of cyst. It could be this kind of cancer. I should know this kind of cancer is painless. And this one, like, those shouldn't be things that I am discussing with him. I'm going to be seeing my older brother next month. He is a physician assistant. So I'm going to have him feel it. And I'm terrified he's going to feel it and be like, dude, did you get a scan? And be super upset that, like, I didn't. And I don't know. I hope that he feels it and he's like, oh yeah, that feels like a cyst. But there's also a strong possibility that he's going to feel it and be like, dude, that doctor, I can't believe he didn't suggest going to get an ultrasound or something. And I'd be like, well, yeah, he's the doctor. I didn't know. He just said if it hurts or it changes to come back. It just sucks that people need to be knowledgeable in something that the knowledgeable people should be knowledgeable with. And it applies to a lot of things, like mechanics. Like if you take your car in and they screw you, you can have people after be like, oh, well, you should have known that you didn't need new brakes. It's like, how would I... The reason I saw the mechanic is because I don't know that stuff. They're the ones doing it. And again, it's kind of luck and word of mouth or going on Yelp and figuring it out. Like my mechanic, oh my God, I had the best mechanic. He was so honest and he was always trying to save me money, which was so weird. I never understood that. Every time I took my Jeep in, I'd get an oil change and everything checked out, and he'd be like, all right, yeah, you're good. And I'm like, oh, you don't need to replace anything? And he'd be like, no, you could do this in a couple of months, but yeah, you're fine. I'm like, dude, are you really? And like nothing, he never replaced anything and he never like had to fix anything. There was never any leak, there was never any problems. And I had a 94 Cherokee. So I know there was something that needed to be fixed or replaced, but he never did it. I just feel like if my doctor had my mechanic's mentality, actually, he'd probably be the same. He'd be like, yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. We don't need to fix you. But I feel like my mechanic, at least, he checks everything out and he knows and he's sure. He's like, yeah, you don't need this part or whatever. Anyway, I appreciate how difficult that profession is because doctors and mechanics are very different. But when you have somebody come in and they're like, I noticed a lump suddenly, what is it? And he's like, come back if it's bigger. I don't know. That's just, I just wish that I was in the future and they had like a machine you could just get into, full body scan. I know they have those now, but I feel like in the future it's going to be very different because now you can have a full scan and it doesn't pick up everything. You could have a heart defect from birth that you never knew about until it's too late. But I feel like if there was some kind of a scan that you could have and it'd be like, it checks everything, all your little vessels. Oh, you're missing a valve. Like, I just wish that was a thing because there could be, we're ticking time bombs and there's always a thing that could be wrong with us that we don't know about till it's too late. Perfect example. I can't remember how I ended up on Joe Strummer's Wikipedia, but I ended up on Joe Strummer's Wikipedia. He's the guitarist, lead singer of the band The Clash. He died at 50 years old. Dude was a vegan from like the time he was 20 years old, and I think he smoked a little bit, but vegan, very healthy, and he had from birth, he had what was it called? Intramural coronary defect in his heart, which means one of his valves like grew into one of his muscles or something. Very rare thing to have, but he dropped dead at 50, no warning signs, and that was it. You never know. I'm sure he's had scans and, checkups throughout his life, and there was no reason for that to be detected. But if they had that magical machine in the future, they would have been like, oh, Joe, you have this thing, your valve is growing into your muscle. We got to take care of that. I don't know if they could take care of that or if that's just what it is. But anyway, that's scary to me. That's really scary that we have all these things and I could have something. I'm a pessimist, all right? I always that's how my brain works. Maybe that's what's wrong with me. There's something in my brain. I always think statistically, I'm always on the negative side of statistics. Like if I'm getting on a plane, I'm going to think I'm going to be the statistic. I'm going to die. I'm going to be that one in whatever it is, 1 in 5 million that this plane is going to crash. But that never carries over to positive things. Like if I'm entered in a raffle for something, like a new car. If it's like lower, if that's like 1 in 300,000, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to win. It's always the bad ones. It's always the, oh yeah, this train is going to derail because I'm on it. But it's never, oh yeah, I could win the lottery, which obviously that's way higher. But I don't have the thinking where it's ever a positive. I'm like, I'm going to be the guy that gets eaten by a shark. I'm going to be that statistic today. That's going to be me. But then if it's positive, not happening. It's not. I don't want that to happen. I want to get eaten by the shark. I want to crash. I want my plane to crash. I want all the bad statistics to happen to me. I want to be the bad one. Which, if you think about it, it's actually good because they don't happen to me. So me thinking that this lump is something, it probably isn't. Breathe, Sam. Dude, this episode was a mess. I wanted to talk about like the spoiling thing and doctors, but this was kind of a bummer episode. But I'm looking at my computer and I've been talking for an hour and 14 minutes. So I don't think this is gonna turn around to anything super positive or funny. And plus my batteries, my camera batteries, I have 3 batteries and they each last like a half hour, 45 minutes. So battery, I already went through battery 1 and battery 2 he's hanging on there. So thank you for supporting me. Thank you for those that reached out and were like, what happened last week? That's what happened. I needed a rest day. I didn't give up. And also I was a little bummed. I wasn't bummed about the lump. I was just thinking about it a lot because, I kept thinking the worst as always. I thought I was going to go there and he was going to be like, we need to do a scan, which I wish he did, but I thought it was going to be a negative thing for him to be so like, it's probably a cyst. I'm like, oh, whatever. I'll take that for right now. We'll see what happens. I guess if I notice anything change, obviously I'll go in, but for right now, it's just a little thing. I'm 36, so there's going to be things that are changing. My body's going to go through changes. There's going to be random things. I have this like weird mole on my head now. It's probably cancer. That I don't know. Just little things that happens with us. You look at your grandpa and you're like, what the hell is that thing on your ear, dude? And he's like, well, I don't know. It popped up in like 1979. Probably nothing. and that's kind of what happens to us. We have skin tags and we have moles and we have things like, what is that? Why is there a dent in my leg now? I don't know, but it's there. Anyway, I'll end this on a positive, not a positive note, but an encouraging you to get checked out and be a self-advocate for your health. Speak up, be aggressive, go through 8 different doctors if you want, because what if one of them's wrong? There might be something very wrong with you. I'm just kidding. We're all probably fine. So, but yeah, get checked out if you notice anything, or if you just need a checkup. We're like cars. We need a tune-up every now and then. We got to go in there and maybe something that you didn't know, your cholesterol is high, and check it out. Get that taken care of, because I want you all to live to be really old so that you can You could keep watching our podcast. That's the only reason that I care about you. At all. I'm just kidding. I love all of you, most of you, even Ben. Hi Ben, if you're listening. So yeah, I got lump Super Bowl and and giving up on things. So we're all taken care of today. Next week, I promise we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna do something fun. I'm gonna spend the weekend, brainstorming some fun stuff. I feel like the week that we took off, there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened that ended up I missed out on. Like there was a balloon from China that we shot down. Please be responsible this weekend. I think that the Super Bowl is one of the worst drunk driving events of the year. I think like 4th of July and Super Bowl or Cinco de Mayo, any holiday really, everyone's just always getting drunk and driving around. Be very careful if you can avoid driving around at the late hours. It doesn't even matter. People drink and drive at, 8 p.m. So just be careful, man. Thanks again to our sponsor, who I can't even remember who it is because that was such a bad bit that I just I put it out of my mind. And Stu, did you have anything that you wanted to add? 24-10? You think the Chiefs are gonna win? Huh. Very specific score. Anyway, if you feel like your body, like you need to go to the doctor and get checked out, go to the doctor. Make sure that your health should always come first. And if this weekend you go to the store to pick up some Super Bowl snacks for the party, make sure after you load up your car, you get everything in your car, make sure that you put your cart back in the designated cart return because that's what they have that little area for. And we'll see you next week.